When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. However, when life gives you a lemon, like this pile of crap, you make do with what you got. And that's exactly what I've had to do with this Lenovo ThinkPad A475. It's quite an annoying laptop, if I were to be honest. One, it was an expensive laptop to buy in the first place. Two, both the batteries it came with died, so I had to replace them, and that's not particularly cheap. And three, this laptop has a weird set of quirks that I had to work with to even make this work, for lack of a better term. Yeah, this laptop would have shipped with Windows 10. It decidedly does not have that, and I wasn't about to deal with Windows 10 on an AMD APU from 2016. We'll get more into that later, because even the Linux experience on this is not particularly great. But let's talk about the laptop a little bit. So, as I said, this is a Lenovo ThinkPad A475. This was a relatively low-end ThinkPad of the era. It was a budget model, a 14-inch model, so it's actually nice and compact. A pretty decent size, although I personally prefer slightly larger. But this is essentially the same chassis as the ThinkPad T470, which has much better CPUs. I'm pretty sure even the base model CPU would have been a lot faster than the AMD Pro A12 9800B that's in here. Yeah, we're going there. This has a Bristol Ridge APU, the aforementioned A12, which is essentially an FX-9800P with a different name and a different sticker. Look, that's actually a later Pro badge that they would stick on these laptops. Earlier ones, and you'll see a lot of them, have a white sticker. It looks like a lot of the old APU badges that you'd see back in the day. But besides the CPU, we have 16 gigabytes of RAM in here, DDR4 clocked at 2400 megahertz, a 480 gigabyte PNY CS1311 SSD. I wanted to put an SSD in the M.2 slot, but unfortunately I couldn't find the 512 gigabyte drive I had that I bought for this, and I wasn't about to stick an eMMC SSD in here either. I wanted to just to have fun with it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because this laptop is dangerously slow for what it is, and I would like not to suffer any more than I already am with this laptop. Besides that, it's just a standard A475, and I'm going to regret moving this laptop with a USB port on the side, and oh, it's not on this side. A couple USB ports, an HDMI port, Ethernet, and an SD card slot, which is actually pretty nice. You don't see that too often. Oh, there it is. A USB-C port. It was surprising to see one on a Bristol Ridge laptop. Some of them have them. They're actually new enough for that, but unfortunately, I don't have much use for it on this specific laptop, or any Bristol Ridge laptop, to be completely fair, because at least this one has an HDMI port already, so I don't have to work around that if I ever wanted to capture anything with this. One of the main annoyances with this laptop that I already have is that it can't take an NVMe SSD. The M.2 slot is keyed for SATA SSDs. It's the M key, I think it is. And that means it's kind of brutal to get an SSD for this, because they're all expensive. But enough of the because. Let's actually get this started up. And we'll enter the BIOS first. We'll actually... There we go. F1. I can't see all that well, so let's pull this up a little bit closer. And as you can see, an AMD Pro A12 9800B. I think I've said that about 4 times already. Back when AMD tried to put their... Back when AMD tried to put the GPUs, compute units, as part of the compute cores type of thing, that didn't last very long, and I think we're all glad that it didn't. 16 gigabytes of RAM is stated. Not much else about this. We're going to run into, well, we're not going to run into that annoyance specifically, but I'll speak about it once we get into the OS, or once I show you what OS I threw on here. And if you couldn't see, because it might be all washed out, I threw Endeavor OS on here. My original plan was to throw OpenSUSE. I'm not sure you pronounce it. OpenSUSE, I don't know. But that didn't really work out. initially, although I suspect it would have had the same solution as this did when I got this finally working properly. Then I tried to install Arch Linux. That didn't go very well. Every time I tried, it failed. Although it's more on me trying to use Arch install. But hey, I don't know how to use Arch Linux that well, so it's whatever. Let's close out Discord because that's just going to be dangerously slow. And let's get the focus on here. And maybe, there we go. Wash it out a little bit less. Where's the Steam? There we go. So finally, I settled for Endeavor OS. The problem is, the trackpad in most Linux distros won't work out of the box. For whatever reason, it has some weird issue where it just won't work until you put it to sleep and you wake it back up. Then, I'm not using a mouse right now, I'm using the trackpad. For whatever reason, it works just fine. I'm sure that's not going to be particularly well focused, but oh well. So ultimately, I settled on Endeavor OS. I probably would have thrown OpenSUSE on here, but as I said, I didn't feel like messing with it at the time, and I didn't have a mouse to install it at the time. But at this point, I do. So, yay. Counter-Strike 2 is patching itself, apparently. I was going to try that, but I'm not waiting an hour to compile shaders for a game that I know won't run very well on here. Let's get that refocused. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. The screen is 1920 by 1080, unsurprisingly. This one's a matte screen, which I actually appreciate greatly. You don't find matte screens on every laptop, and if you do, sometimes total garbage. Oh, don't do this to me. Come on. All right. I should have tested that earlier. Well, Team Fortress 2 work. Well, the 64-bit version of it anyways. I think it will. Let's turn the volume up so y'all can hear firsthand what we're working with. Oh my god, it just started trying to play the intro cutscene. That's a new one, even for me, at least on something modern. Oh man. Yeah, this is not a particularly good laptop. I don't have many nice things to say about it outside of it's actually nicely sized. Okay, let's make sure the settings are good. Oh, they actually saved. Wow, finally. All right. Actually, let's see if we can find a 64-bit server right now. I might be able to. Oh, I guess so. There's a couple of them. I guess we'll see if this one works out. It's just gonna be me and maybe bots, but hey, it's better than running them locally. Much better. Let this load. Yeah, and hear that fan scream, trying to load Team Fortress 2. Oh no, this is not going to be good. Oh, this is not going to be very good. And I'm going to play Pyro so that I can at least play at this frame rate. Oh man, this is bringing me back to when I had an AMD Athlon X4950, which comes from the same lineage of APUs and terrible CPUs. These are not very good. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is not running particularly great. I'm actually amazed at how poorly this is running. Let's turn the volume down so that y'all can hear me a little bit better. There we go. Yeah, back in the day, I had an Athlon X4950 and my Radeon HD 7850. It did not play Team Fortress 2 very well. It was a downgrade from my prior FX4100, which says a whole lot about that processor. Not a lot of cache will do that, and these things really need the cache to save themselves. AMD optimized the hell out of Bulldozer by this point, but they still needed cache, which these just didn't get. And what you got is a brutally slow CPU that could get outpaced by the first generation of Bulldozer, which is genuinely impressive, at least for the most part. I know my limitations with this system, so I'm not going to try to run anything too demanding. Oh, come on. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I got an assist, and I'm not doing very good. And what a surprise. I'm playing with a Dell mouse on a laptop, and I haven't played this game in a couple of months. I'm sure we have. Okay, let's go. From there, I upgraded to a Ryzen 7 1700, and the rest is history. That was a much better CPU than anything prior. Let's see. Oh, damn it. They activated their Uber charge for no real reason. Thank you, medic. Oh, come on. Oh god, they have a sentry. I didn't even notice that the first time around. So yeah, as I said, these laptops originally came with Windows 10. As I said, there's a very good reason this doesn't have Windows 10, and that's because Windows is dreadful on Bulldozer. It's especially dreadful on Excavator and, frankly, any APU, because they just don't have the cache, and Windows is already pretty terrible with handling Bulldozer processors and the way that they're essentially made. If you don't know, these combined Bulldozer processors share various resources between two cores, or what they call cores. And Windows doesn't play nicely with it. Linux plays a lot better with it, but this just is not very fast at all. Come on. Oh, yay. Alright, what am I working with here? Am I gonna survive? Well, I hit the scout somehow. What? What just happened there? But yeah, the screen's actually pretty nice. I don't mind it at all. I've used a lot worse. I've got a lot worse coming up soon, but that won't be until that laptop gets here. The second laptop I want to do with it gets here. Trying to talk and play Team Fortress 2 at the same time, not very fun. Okay, I think that's enough. Oh my god. What just happened? Why did that stutter so hard? That was absolutely horrible. Alright, well, Grid 2 run this time. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, annoyingly, performance on this is considerably worse than either FX-9800P I've used. I have that Lenovo laptop I've showed off a few months back, that IdeaPad, and I also have a Dell Inspiron desktop, which, oh, there we go, which actually acquitted itself pretty good. I was surprised at how TF2 ran on that. It was actually playable, if only just, but it was actually playable at 1440p, which it really impressed me, even if it was at lower settings, because I just didn't realize that I'd be able to make that work, especially with given the memory bandwidth I had to work with. DDR3 is not particularly kind to APUs, but somehow that worked. I suspect MSAA wouldn't have played so nicely though. But yeah, this also shares a bit of lineage with a different ThinkPad, slightly larger, but from the same era, the ThinkPad A475. Those also come with Bristol Ridge AMD APUs, but those could either be optioned out with an AMD FX-9800B, I think it was called. No, 9500P. Or an AMD A10 9700P. No, 9600P, I think it was called. I don't even remember because AMD's naming scheme of this era made absolutely no sense. I think it was the 9700B. But yeah, not very fast. And I wanted to get one of those ThinkPads, but the problem is I'm not spending $100 on one. I already spent a lot of money on this one, and it was not worth it in the least. The batteries cost me something like $50, $50s, maybe $60. I don't remember. The SSD I got for free, thankfully, but the RAM I paid for myself, and that also wasn't very cheap. I think I paid like 40 or $50 for the RAM in this, just for crappy 2400 megahertz stuff. But I also wasn't about to let this run with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Although I don't think this laptop came with any, so I had to get some anyways. That fan is still screaming. Why? I'm not entirely sure, but it is. Hopefully Grid 2 acquits itself better than Team Fortress 2 could. Come on. This would have been Lenovo's last laptop lineup, or at least ThinkPad lineup, containing a Bulldozer APUs. Starting, I think it was in either late 2017 or early 2018, they would come out with a different set of ThinkPads that would come with the Raven Ridge APUs, the first gen Zen APUs, and even a Ryzen 5 2500U will slap the hell out of this in every regard. I had a laptop with a Ryzen 5 2500U, and I promise you, it was better than this. It was faster than this. Team Fortress 2 is playable on it, for one. Whereas Team Fortress 2 is just not very playable on this. It really isn't. Also, KD6 chugs on here. System monitor. Let's see how much it chugs trying to load this. Here we are using a bunch of CPU resources for nothing. Huh? 876 gigabytes of space. I thought I threw a 500 or 480 gigabyte SSD in here. Don't tell me I wiped one of my random. Let's see. Okay, it's just misreporting it. I'm not sure why. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. You know you want to launch. Okay, I guess that's not happening. We'll try this right now, and then if it doesn't, I think we'll end it here. Because I don't have that much else to talk about with this laptop. It's not very interesting, to be completely honest. It's just a ThinkPad, and not a very good one at that. Not very expandable outside of, well, I mean, you can upgrade the storage and RAM, but it's not very powerful. There's nothing you can really do to make it faster. And I think with that, I'll probably end the video here, unless I can think of anything else to talk about. Let's close it out, shut it down. I will say, actually loading into the OS and exiting is rather snappy. I'm surprised by that. I totally expect it to be a bit of a chug fest, but, well, it impressed me there. I'll put it that way. But I think that'll do it for this video. Thank you for watching.